What is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology forecast for today. What's today? Thursday, June 8th of 2023. Some straight Saturn and Pisces type stuff, forgetting my days of the week. Anyways, trust that you all have been having a great week so far. Let's hop right into today's forecast, shall we? Well, still got those squares building with Venus, but we'll get to that in a moment. We'll talk about this moon first in Aquarius. The moon in Aquarius today, it's going to start the day at around 15 degrees. That's going to be at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the moon, is going to make a nice little aspect to the sun to start the day off. It's going to make that nice little trine over to the sun at 17 degrees. So, but what's going to be building, of course, are the squares to all of this Taurus energy, Uranus and Mercury. It's going to be making squares to that. Now, the good thing about this is that we're going to get some nice mutual reception between the moon and Uranus. The moon being exalted in Taurus, Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius. We're going to get like some nice little reception here. So where the moon, of course, it is waning, right? So these are sort of like the energies that are kind of like, the lights kind of like dim down a little bit. We're kind of getting some mood lighting essentially with the moon in Aquarius, right? So, trying to set that mood, trying to figure out where is that we really want to connect to, where do we really vibe with. If you, like I said, if you look at the glyph of Aquarius, it's two sine waves on top of each other, so it's like a vibration. So the moon, trying to figure out where it really vibes, who it vibes with, what kind of people, what kind of connections, what kind of communities that we're trying to vibe with. Uranus and Taurus here, of course, is really shaking things up, right? When it comes to our self-worth, our self-value, really asking us to really look deeper into these sort of aspects too. It's a bit of a far out there kind of energy also with Uranus. The other thing about Uranus too, when you think about astrology, when you look at these things, you want to look at the symbols, you want to look at what the glyphs look like, and then you also want to think about what the planets are actually doing. Uranus is the only planet that spins on its side. So that already in and of itself makes Uranus a weirdo because it spins on its side. And it also has rings, but you just don't really see the rings. You don't really think about those rings. But it does have rings too. And that's the weird thing about Uranus is that it's a very out there weird planet. It decided to spin on its side, right? And that means that it's northern is like I think it's north and south pole. Aren't they locked? Don't quote me on that. All I know is that like as it moves around the sun, it's like one aspect of it gets like a permanent day for a long time, and then one aspect gets like a permanent night for a long time because it spins on its side. So that's the weird thing about Uranus is that there are moments where that's what makes Aquarius so interesting, how they can just detach so fast is because they can just go to that dark side so fast and then just stay there. That's why Aquarius be ghosting people and shit, right? But then at the same time, they care about humanity and want to give back and stuff. It's a weird kind of energy. Aquarius is a very compassionate energy, but Aquarius also has to move on. It can't just spend time and it can't just spend all the time on one person. Like if you actually have like the water bearer and say that they're giving out water to like a bunch of people, say they can't just spend a whole bunch of time on one person. They got to make sure that they get to everybody, right? So, who are you spending potentially too much time on? What kind of situations are you potentially? I mean, like I said, this is a square, so there's still a bit of a challenge here. Are there people, situations in your life that you may be spending too much time on and perhaps giving too much water to that aren't really going to appreciate it? Not only that, but I was looking this up too. I was looking up the lunar mansions. The lunar mansions, and we can talk a little bit more about that in depth in another video. But the lunar mansions takes into consideration the moon, considering the fact that the moon moves really fast. It's one of the greatest influencers in astrology. So we have all these different mansions of the moon. I think it's like 28 of them essentially, right? And they cover a certain amount of degrees. And these lunar mansions were primarily used in Arabic astrology, which Arabic astrology has influenced Western astrology a great deal. So where the moon is right now actually does speak to gardening and plants and protecting those plants, right? It does speak to nurturing them, watering them in many ways, right? So that's where the moon is at the current moment. So yes, we do need to guard in many ways and protect what it is that we are growing in our life, you know. But at the same time, we gotta pay attention to where might we be overwatering too. This squaring energy with Uranus, because since, like I said, it's a bit erratic, it could take things to a bit of an extreme sometimes. So, are there places in our life where we may be overwatering? Are there situations where we may be overwatering and it's just, too much of a, that's the thing, too much of a good thing is not necessarily a good thing, right? So, and it's like you can, like I said, you can drink so much water to where you just feel bloated, right? So that's the thing too. We got to pay attention to, we got to find that balance. We got to strike that balance when it comes to this sort of energy. You know, where may we be overwatering things right now? Where are the people situations where we may be giving too much of ourselves to right now, and we're not really going to get the return back that we think that we should get, or that we know is within our true value at this moment, right? So, but like I said, it's a mutual reception, so it's not going to be anything per se like super negative. It's just going to be more of like it's just going to be sort of like a thinking moment. Remember, the moon moves fast, so these aspects, they light up and then they dissipate. They light up and then they dissipate, right? So by the time that the moon does that, mind you, let's see. So, and the cool thing that on the way to that square to Uranus, that the moon will make a nice little trine over to the sun in Gemini. Remember, the sun has been in Gemini by itself for quite a while. Of course, in this chart, I actually added some other minor asteroids. So I did add Juno. But as far as major energies that we typically track that have the greatest influence on us, the sun has been in Gemini by itself for the longest time, right? So it's had the spotlight, it has to show, like the sun usually does, right? Like it always does. Mercury, though, at 25 degrees, barreling towards Gemini, getting ready to enter into its home space. It is so excited to get back home. But we will get that nice little trine over to the sun at 17 degrees of Gemini. With 17 degrees, one is the number of the sun of Leo, seven is the number of Neptune of Pisces energy, and it nets to an eight being the number of Saturn, eight being the number of Capricorn, decisions, adulting, getting things in order as well. And what's coming back into Capricorn soon? Pluto. It's coming back there very soon. But this is a nice little trine here. It's going to definitely give some positive air-like energy. So some positive communications, some positive thoughts. This would be a great time to really write out our thoughts and like really decide and commit to certain things. Especially since Gemini is definitely looking to be curious and explore, has some sort of creativity and whatever and whatever like that. It's definitely looking to do that sort of stuff. Shoot, with the moon in Aquarius too, some of you guys might be communicating with some of your guides are going to be coming through very heavily today. I would say that. Shoot, some of you guys with this sort of energy, especially since it's the sun, and then you have Neptune, which is a very, like I said, Piscean energy with that seven quality too, lucky number seven. Yeah, some of you guys, your guides are going to be coming in pretty hot today. They're going to be coming in pretty hot, really speaking to you, really saying it's like, all right, you got to make a decision. You got to do something. Excuse me, man. I need to get some water. They're going to be coming in heavy. They're like, all right, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You've been sitting around a long time. You've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. It's time for you to act. It's time for you to do something. And it's not like we have like a whole lot of time to, because planets are coming slow. Venus is slow. Saturn is slow. We got Pluto, which is in retrograde, which is about to come back in Capricorn, which is going to try and suck people back into the matrix, suck people back into the old world. The other thing I kind of want to talk about with the sun is that I want to bring your attention to the glyph. It's a dot with a ring around it. That dot in the middle is the sun. The ring around it is Pluto, because it's the outermost planet, right? And you see how it's protecting the sun, right? That's the thing about this energy too, is that it creates this barrier, it creates this boundary. So Pluto Scorpio energy is about boundaries. Why is it that Scorpio always wants to push the boundaries? How can you know what the boundaries are if you don't push them, right? Pluto went into Aquarius, wanting to expand, create, and destroy the boundaries when it comes to that sort of energy, right? We haven't had this since the 1700s, since the late 1700s. So it's when Pluto went into space, it was a big deal because no one alive has seen the energy unless you were alive back in the late 1700s, right? Now it's coming back into Capricorn, which means that those boundaries when it comes to the Capricorn energy aren't done yet. They aren't done being explored. We are going back. We are reviewing that energy, right? So that's the thing about it too, is that we thought that we were pushing the boundaries in Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about, think about it, it's that out there kind of energy, it's that far out kind of energy. We thought that we were going into that new world, but now Pluto's coming back. So this is going to be us. This is sort of like us going back to, especially with all this like Saturn, Pisces energy, and you have freaking Neptune here too. Pluto going back into Capricorn, at least this first time. This is sort of going to be like the time skip, if you will. And I was watching the Peace Dealer yesterday, and he actually mentioned this too. So this is going to be sort of like this time skip kind of energy, right? Where we thought that we were in like the new world, right? But we have a lot of things that we have to kind of go back and clean up. And this is the stuff that's not necessarily going to be. This is the stuff that wasn't necessarily shown on camera at first, right? So we're about to live in that world. Then Pluto will come back into Aquarius next year and will retrograde back into Capricorn, and that's going to be the flashback. That's going to be the flashback. Then it'll finally come into Aquarius. But that's the thing too. With the sun in Gemini, this is another energy. Gemini is another energy that likes to push its boundaries, right? Why? Because Gemini is the eighth house to Scorpio, which is the natural eighth house. So the sun in Gemini is asking us to push our boundaries in many ways and to be curious and to go out there and to try different things and to learn different things, right? It's in the house of Venus right now. Now, where's Venus? Still under a lot of stress, right? Still under a lot of stress. 2 degrees, 48 minutes of Leo, right? It is actually in the house of the sun. These energies are still semi-squaring each other, right? So it's like you have one aspect of ourself that has a little bit of information that's trying to lean on another aspect of ourself that has a little bit of information that has another that's trying to lean on another aspect of ourself that's a little bit of information. That's kind of how we are right now, is that we have all these different aspects of ourselves that have a piece of the puzzle, right? That have a key, right? And it's like it's almost like we want one aspect to pretty much have it all together, but it's really sort of like you got a little bit here, you got a little bit there, 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 and you have to bring it all together, right? So as you move this moon forward, right, by the time that the moon reaches 20 degrees, right, by the time the moon reaches 20 degrees and it starts to make the nice little square over to Uranus, when that energy starts to activate, and mind you, 20 degrees, it's a very emotional degree. Why? Because 2 represents the moon, and then you have a 0. 0 is the Scorpio energy. Once again, it's a boundary, right? So that energy is being activated as well. We have to think about that. So it's going to be a rather emotional time because with that, we're going to almost want to detach, but it's going to be pretty tough to detach, if you will. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some interesting information today that really tries to pull on people's heartstrings and pull on people like in an emotional way. I wouldn't be surprised today if you come across it in situations that would normally call for you to be more empathic, but you got to be careful on how much of your energy you give to these people and these situations, because you may be dealing with a person or individual that doesn't really value themselves. But then I'm kind of getting beggar energy out of this. I'm not gonna lie, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a beggar. This could just be a person or a situation that that's all they know. That's all they kind of know how to do. And it's like they almost want you to be the one that heals them. They want to. They're this is kind of pity party kind of energy. I'm not gonna lie, because because Uranus energy, like I said, it's this sort of mad scientist kind of energy. And with this square, even though it's a mutual reception, it's almost going to be like this could be someone. This could be a person that you have dealt with for a while now, but you have to ask yourself, where's your boundary? And then I could easily see, like, the moment that you pull back, the moment that you do something that's outside of the norm of what you have been doing, they may blow up at you, and you got to be okay with that. You got to be like, well, I'm setting that boundary. I'm making sure that, and I had to do this. Oof, I had to learn this, because I say that I'm an empath, right? I say that I'm an empath. Empaths have the worst boundaries. If you call yourself an empath, you have terrible boundaries. You can still care for people and understand what emotions are and stuff without letting people get to you and letting their emotions really affect you in a super, super hard way. Now, some people can't turn it off, right? I'm a Pisces moon in the 4th house and a sun in Scorpio in the 12th. Like, I actually am an empath, but I still had to learn boundaries, right? Because Sun is Scorpio, boundaries, 12th house, right? So I still have to learn boundaries, right? We all have Pluto. We all have an 8th house, right? So, right, we all have Mars. Mars is traditional ruler of Scorpio. Mars is, if you really think about it, Mars and Scorpio is like protecting the investment, protecting the fort, protecting the town, the home in many ways. Mars and Aries is like actually going out. It's the people. It's going out. It's the warriors. The whole Mars and Scorpio aspect of it is like actually protecting the kingdom, protecting the investments, protecting that aspect. Yeah. Or going after those investments or going after those resources in many ways, protecting that aspect. But like I said, some of you guys that call yourself empaths, you have really, really bad boundaries. And you know that. I might be triggering some of y'all with this one. But I had to learn how to set proper emotional boundaries. Because the only way that you're going to be really empowered and change the world is if you set healthy emotional boundaries, right? So today might be a triggering day for those that don't have great emotional boundaries. I'm just going to say that straight up. Why? Also, because we do have Venus, right? We do have Venus. You see, it enters the 3rd degree today, and bam, look at this, exact as the moon is at 21 degrees, and it's still making that aspect to Uranus, mind you, heading towards the aspect with Mercury. We have Mercury at 3 degrees, making that T square. Three degrees, number of Jupiter, Sagittarius. So yeah, this could be, like I said, this could be an interesting day because people might get triggered because of things that you have normally done, and when you pull back your energy, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck? Why would you do that?" So, like I said, Mercury and Leo is definitely looking for the passion. It's looking for the creativity. It's looking to express itself, but then it squares the nodes. It's like, oh well, and now you come to a crossroads. Where do you go? It's still, yeah, it's without it's within 3 degrees of Pluto, of course, right? But now we look at this energy. Now we have another moment. Mars already came over this moment, right? The masculine energy already squared these energy. Now We got the feminine energy squaring this energy. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit hotter, right? It's going to be a little bit more intense in many ways with that energy. It's in the decan of the sun in Leo, right? Sun rules Leo, right? We got to also remember, guys, that when Venus opposed Pluto at 0 degrees of Leo and 0 degrees of Aquarius, respectively, Venus was on the Lionsgate point. You know, the Lionsgate is something that happens every single year. It's when the sun when it enters into Leo. Venus was on that point. It was on the gate point. That's where the opposition was, right? So, yes, it's like we are on the precipice of a new world, but we still have some things in the old world to go clean up, right? So now it's like, shoot, am I going to go this route, the edgy route, the bad girl, bad boy route that seems popular, right? That doesn't wear the uniform the right way, right? Or are we going to go towards this route, which is a little more familiar? It's the childhood best friend kind of energy. It's not super exciting. But here's the crazy thing about that. This person right here, that energy is a side character. It's actually the best friend that we've known our whole life. That once we actually get to know them, we realize that it's actually this huge thing and that we actually have some deep spiritual mission with that individual and we didn't even realize it. But the universe put both of y'all together at the same, like, it put both y'all together so close to each other. So y'all can almost sort of be blinded to each other, blinded by the fact that you guys have always known each other. And then it makes us want to look all the way out there, for the answers when the answers were right here in front of us the entire time. That's what Venus is that's what Mars has already experienced. That's what Venus is going to be showing us too. That's what the sun is showing us. The answers were here all the time. It was right here. It's not out there. It's not in Sag world. It's right here. It's right here. Now, this is going to be a little bit later in the day, of course, but going into really the next day, the moon is going to square over to Mercury, 26 degrees. Oh, look at that. Is that another 8? 2 plus 6 this time? Is that another 8? Oh, snap. Is that the moon energy with the 2 and the 6 energy is Venus, which nets to an 8, which is another decision point? Another is like, are you actually going to make this decision? Are you actually going to commit to this path? This is a commitment path. This is a commitment kind of day. Some of you guys are going to be recommitting yourself to your spiritual path today because your guides are going to be coming through really heavily and saying and just feeding you bits of information. And that's the funny thing too about the Mercury is about to get into Gemini. So be there in just a few days. It's moving very fast, right? So some of you guys are going to be getting downloads today. This is kind of like a download kind of day. You're just going to be getting messages and stuff like that. Once Mercury goes into Gemini, it's going to be even faster, right? But yeah, today's going to be a day where we recommit to our paths in many ways. We recommit to our spiritual journeys, our spiritual missions. A lot of us. Even if you are on your spiritual mission, you already know there are going to be aspects of it that you kind of recommit yourself to today. But like I said, it doesn't come without its challenges. Like any day. But through challenge comes growth, right? Through challenge comes growth. Let's go into the cards. we have the Page of Pentacles. Let's see if I can like try and get it to kind of focus. We have the Page of Pentacles today. Hey, there's the owl again. Sag energy, Jupiter energy. But look where Jupiter is. It's in Taurus, right? It's not a Sag. It's not like out there. It's not in a foreign place. It's not way out there. It's home. That's the other crazy thing about this energy too. With all of this energy that's building, all of this intensity, all of this angst in the world, especially when it comes to war energy. You notice how it's not in Sag, all this energy. You notice how all this stuff is in like the first 3 signs of the zodiac. And some of us about to move into Cancer. It's all in the first few signs of the zodiac. It's not out there. The only stuff that's going to be out there is going to be Pluto and Capricorn, which is going to be breaking down like institutions in many ways. It's going to show actually how the institutions broke down. The institutions already broke down. They're already broke, right? Pluto going back into Capricorn is the time skip and how we learned how things broke down, right? But things already broke down, right? And then when Pluto comes back into it, it's going to be like the flashback of like interesting things that kind of interesting little tidbits and stuff like that that happened during the breakdown, right? So that's the thing about this. If you don't think that the war, the spiritual war, is going to come and knock on your front door, you're sadly mistaken. So that's why it's like you can't. That's why like you have to be prepared. You have to realize that this is something that just because we at least here, I mean, if you're watching this, more than likely, you know, you're in like a Western type society or whatever like that, right? Just because we have all of these different conflicts that are happening in different parts of the world doesn't mean that there's no conflicts happening here, especially the spiritual war. That's a real fucking thing, y'all. If you don't think that if you don't think that this battle is not gonna come knock on your front door, I just had to add that in there real fast. I got that message, so I had to channel it in. But the Page of Pentacles is someone who knows their value to the point where now, in many ways, they are sort of going through this sort of apprenticeship. You know, you see how he's like, dang, I wish you could kind of see it, but you see how like how he's holding a sun essentially, right? He's holding a sun in his hand, right? This is like yeah, he's holding a sun in his hand. This is like you learning how to do like the spirit bomb, right? Like if you're Goku and stuff like that. This is like you actually learning that. You know, recognizing your value, recognizing your roots too. That's the thing. This is like when Goku realized who he was. And then as soon as you realize who you are, you immediately get like a power up boost. That's the thing. Some of you guys today are going to have unlocks on your energy. It's sort of like, why do you think I'm wearing the Naruto shirt, right? Why do you think I'm wearing the Naruto shirt? Some of you guys have a nine-tailed fox inside of you. Some of you guys, some of you guys have that kind of energy inside of you, but there have been blocks put on it, boundaries put on it, until certain moments, until certain criteria were met for you to unlock that energy. So it's like I'm getting with this energy. It's not so much the value part. It's so much that we're remembering our roots, right? Remembering our roots, becoming more acquainted with that aspect, right? Oh yeah, we got the Page of Wands as well. This is absolutely, we got 2 pages. We got 2 pages. Oh yeah, this is definitely an unlocking of spiritual matter that has been lying dormant. Page of Wands, Page of Pentacles. Yeah, this is definitely like this is like there's a volcano that erupted yesterday at like 4:44 like Hawaiian time. With all this energy that's been going on. Yeah, that's what this kind of energy is. This is like a volcano kind of. This is like a volcano. It's like a new volcano. It's the page too, so it's juvenile. It's young, but this is like we are actually like uncovering and learning so much about our power and so much about who we are. But we have to be open to receiving that. The way that you miss this energy is getting way too caught up on outsourcing your emotions to people, situations that aren't deserving of it. Right? And I'm not necessarily saying to pull back all the way. I don't know if you want to make that decision today. Yeah, I don't know if you want to be that rash about it today, but definitely just like the science, like just like, you know, set that boundary too. Because here's the thing too, when we come into this knowledge, when we come into this information and stuff like that, when we unlock this, when we like kind of go within ourselves, like, oh wow, I didn't know I had this whole aspect of ourselves. Just becoming aware of that's automatically going to give us a new superpower. And then we have to learn how to use that superpower, right? Some of you guys are going to be unlocking powers that are going to absolutely blow your mind and blow the minds of those around you. And then you're going to have to learn how to use that power. The cool thing about this energy is that because we have all this Taurus energy, is that it will be easier to control this energy because you can, so long as you remain grounded, it'll be a little bit easier to control this energy, right? So it's not like you're going to go berserk kind of energy when you unlock it. Yeah, so it's like the right, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that, you know, we've been guided in such a way that when we unlock this new ability, these new powers, that it's not going to just overload our body and our system, right? I have the card of, you see how this comes up again? That's how I know I'm supposed to be doing this. And it's the 8th of June too. You see how 8 keeps coming up? We had the card of alchemy, and it's an 8 as well. Not only that, but it's like interlocking figure 8s with this card. The frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance of the magic that we all hold inside. What have I been saying? You're unlocking powers today. Each one of us has the potential to access the ancient knowledge that allowed the true alchemists to perform the miracles of transmutation. Beloved, you are unlocking superpowers today. You are unlocking superpowers today, right? Now, it's just whether or not you embrace these superpowers, accept them. The other part too is that while you may shock some people today, you may feel ostracized by some people today as well. Don't let that ostracization hold you back from exploring this new facet of yourself, which is not even a new facet. It's an ancient facet of yourself. It's a facet of yourself that's always been there. It's just been lying dormant for a little bit. But some people may just be like, ugh. They may look at them, and that's only because they haven't found theirs yet. They're holding it back. They're pushing it down because they don't know they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. That's why they want that's why they want you to tell them who they are, because they don't know who they are. Right? So don't be afraid of some people just kind of reject the energy today too. Naruto was rejected for most of his life, right? He didn't get the full acceptance until he became Hokage, but he still did it, right? But when he was young, right? When he was young, he was rejected, but he proved himself. And then you had the time skip when he was off training with Jiraiya, and then still same energy, matured, graduated. He had a little bit more respect, but then when he finally became Hokage and became the greatest ninja of all time, ninja that saved the world, that's when he got the respect. So you gotta understand, some of you guys right now, you're in that first stage, right? We're all in that first stage. We are Naruto, still getting shunned by everybody. And we don't know why. He didn't know why at the start. Today, in many ways, a lot of you will learn why. Now, will you shun that aspect of yourself that's wanting to sprout forth and come forth? Because some of you guys have been watering that aspect of yourself and nurturing that aspect of yourself subconsciously, and now you're going to become consciously aware of it today. Something that's ancient, that's always been within you, something that's beautiful, right? That is true in its essence. Are you going to reject that aspect of yourself? This is why you got to give yourself a goal, you know? Naruto had the goal of becoming Hokage, and it was unwavering. Nothing, no matter how dangerous the situation was, no matter how much flack he received, no matter how much he was disparaged, he held fast to that goal. How do you get through such a crazy time right now? You give yourself goals, you give yourself stuff to do. Keep yourself busy on things that matter. That's going to do it for this video. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I love you all so much. Y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful day. I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out.